Hi there everyone, welcome back. It's been way too long since I've made a video last time, and it's mainly because I've been busy with the things and I haven't had a whole lot of motivation to get out the camera, but I figure it's time to change that now when the holidays and everything are coming up. I will have, of course, a bit more time on my hands to do things. So it's been a while since I've been out here, and it's pretty cold right now. It's probably around -10 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's about 5. It's not that bad. But it's no longer summer, it's winter. It's getting cold, but it's not unbearable or anything like that. I can live with it. Uh, Here are my outdoor speakers, just resting here, waiting for better times. And here's a new project. This is a 400 volt slash 230 volt three-phase generator project, and that's a ordinary electric motor which with these two capacitors here, I believe they're 25 microfarads, will be able to operate as a three-phase plus neutral generator. And here's the outlet which I'm gonna install somewhere here. I haven't gotten around to it yet. Whoops, whatever. It's powered by an old trashed lawnmower engine, which I had to rebuild a little bit in order to make it run again. But this thing runs really good now. And there's a huge flywheel on the underneath this thing that weighs approximately 10 kilograms, because otherwise it's absolutely impossible to start this thing. And I gave this thing new oil and everything. I can tell there's a little bit of moisture in there actually, but that's not the fault of the oil. That's because of the environment right now. And once that thing gets up to full operating temperature and runs for a few hours, the moisture is gonna disappear from the oil, so it's nothing to worry about. That's entirely normal with this kind of equipment. And yeah, it's gonna be encased eventually, but right now I don't have enough plywood for that. But when I do, I'm going to build a box around this thing, and it's going to be soundproofed using thick foam. So it's just going to be ventilation slots, and I'm gonna make a custom exhaust pipe for this, and it's gonna be very silent running. In fact, it's already surprisingly silent, just like this. So yeah, and we got some other stuff here. You can see how much sawdust and metal shavings and stuff there is from everything I've done in here recently. I need to bring up my battery powered vacuum cleaner and clean this place up. It's a crappy car audio amp there which has issues, but it works for a few minutes. Batteries, etc., etc. My big batteries here, you can see there's a battery charger here which is being fed by this extension cord which is going long distance away. Well, relatively long distance anyways. And the reason I'm charging these poor batteries is because I've managed to discharge them so severely that I've probably caused permanent capacity loss on these now. And you can see they're overflowing because the electrolyte level is too high on them, so I'm gonna have to get some cleaning supplies out here later, but I'm not too worried about it at this moment. I'm just happy that I can give them the required charge. And you can see the voltage is climbing up there towards 15 volts right now, which is good. I want to keep them there for a while. This has been charging overnight, so I'm gonna let it go for a bit longer, I think. Um, yeah, and there's a lot of stuff there. There's my old oscilloscope, which I decided to bring out here because the CRT on it is dead. It's got a brightener on it, and it's just crappy, that oscilloscope, really. So it can stay out here and get used for various things. the CRT on it really is weak. Like with the brightness cranked all the way, you can barely see the trace. It's really bad. Yeah, that's it. And there's a lot of speaker wires and stuff. There's some particle board here left over from when I was building these speakers. I haven't been very motivated to clean in here. But yeah, one thing I'm gonna try and do today maybe is to mount that three-phase outlet and gotta get some of those wire clamps on there too, so you don't rip the wire out. I need to find some fuel shallow for this, because right now this is running straight into the carburetor. And I do believe there's actually some fuel left in here. Yeah, there is, so that's not really ideal. It's gonna cause that carburetor to clog up eventually, because modern fuel really isn't that great. We also got some stuff here, some junk, which we can resurrect. Some sort of thing out of presumably a reel-to-reel, I'm not sure. It's a nice 25-volt high current power supply out of some piece of solid state equipment. And we got some other interesting resurrections here. Here, for example, is a radio straight from the dump. You can see the tubes are completely loose. This is a real trip, this thing. And it also doesn't have an output transformer. It kind of looks like this thing was designed to be used with a speaker that had an output transformer already on it. This is straight from the dump. And I think it's a 220 volt transformer actually, so that's good. There's some weird plug here. Can you see that? It's been unplugged. What the heck? Oh, it's a broken tube socket. That's what it is. Full of waxes. Seems to be made in Great Britain according to the parts and stuff in here. I haven't looked this model up or anything. But yeah, it's just the chassis. I don't have anything else. And there's no output transformer, so it's got a 6v6, so I think the output transformer was probably on the speaker. So there's the 6v6, and one of these connectors is probably for the out speaker. So there's the plate connection probably comes out here and goes back. So yeah, that's a resurrection project for some time. But yeah, that's the state of the off-grid house right now, which currently isn't off-grid, but sometimes you gotta save your batteries, and I don't like cheating, but I don't wanna destroy the batteries either, so sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, this thing, I think I'm gonna build a little bit on this today. Right, I got the energizing caps and the output lead connected up into that three-phase outlet there. The single phase is between L1 and neutral. And you can see the neutral and ground are tied together here onto the case of this, so that becomes the neutral and ground point, of course. And here is L1, L2, L3. So the two capacitors are common together on the middle phase, and then one capacitor on L3 and one on L1. That way you will have magnetization. We need to build some sort of holder for this, but theoretically, if I start this thing up right now, it should produce voltage. Also need to hook up my engine kill switch here, which I installed, so you can easily kill the engine there. And that's this wire here coming out of the thing. Needs to be extended and connected to there and to the engine ground. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Alright, got the caps mounted. Got the kill switch wired up. Outlet wired up. The thing should be safe to start at this point. There's a lot of junk in here though, but it should be safe to start the thing up. Assuming to be open. Ah, goodness. Assuming that we open up the door. I hate this. Fuck this. This is so annoying. Can't be bothered to clean it right now. But yeah. I think the thing is runnable at this point. I can't manage this myself right now. Give me a moment. The DIY generator is now runnable. 3-phase outlet, capacitor bank, engine, a little bit of fuel. Change the polar ratio underneath here, so now it's a 1-to-1, so 1500 RPM there means 1500 here. Got a breakout cord here with a shock block on it. Ground and neutral are tied together in the generator head, of course, to create a artificial neutral point. L1, L2, L3, so between neutral and any of the three lives we should get 230 volts. Between the live conductors we should get 400 volts. And yeah, it's gonna be a bit difficult to film all this, but I'm gonna try. So first things first, generator engine on. Here we go. It's a bit unhappy. So I should probably check how much fuel I have before I get started. Oh, we're out of fuel again. Well, that explains why it's unhappy. Let me fix that. Alright, fuel has been added. Let's try her again. Choke. Runs pretty well, but it's shaking like crazy, so I gotta do something about that. But as you saw, we had 230 and 400 volts. I just gotta mount another one of these pieces of wood, it seems. Well, that's it. It runs well, very well, if I may say so. The voltage output is pretty good, and the reason it drops under load is because this engine doesn't have a governor. Yes, it does, but it's broken. And in order to fix that, you basically have to tear the whole engine apart, which is not something I feel like doing, so oh well. But yeah, there we go. It's been running for a little while now, and it should be up to temperature. Let's see. I am having issues with moisture in the oil, even though this is a brand new oil that I put in it just a few days ago. But I think it's going to disappear once it gets a few hours of runtime. Yeah, I didn't give it a lot of fuel. I gave it maybe 50 milliliters of fuel for this test run, and it runs beautifully. Um, yeah, I did notice one of the phases was a bit higher voltage than the other one. It was like 430, and the other one was 395. That is probably due to tolerance of these capacitors here. They're 25 microfarads each, but if one is 26 and one is let's say 24, then it's going to have lower voltage on one of the three legs. But that's okay. It works. And now we ran it under a bit of load too. This is not very much load for this generator, obviously. It claims 730 watts, but I don't really believe that. But yeah, it works really well. And yeah, I wasn't really expecting much else though. So now I gotta check the belt tension and make sure all of that is still good, and if it is, then yeah. This thing is slightly warm. The engine is quite hot right now. But yeah, I let it run out of fuel, and I don't have a fuel shut off. I don't even have a fuel filter, so I really need to do something about that, because that's gonna cause me issues. I place it on some pieces of foam because it's just vibrating like crazy otherwise, because the flywheel is out of balance. Actually, I don't think it's the flywheel anymore, it's the shaft of the engine which is bent slightly. Remember, this thing comes from a lawnmower, so only God knows what it's been through. Yeah, gonna check the belt tension, and if needed, I'm gonna tighten these screws up more. I think the belt tension is pretty damn good though. Maybe it's a little bit on the loose side actually, but it doesn't seem to be slipping when you put a load on it, so that's good. Although I definitely think I could tighten that belt a little bit more. And yeah, for those of you curious, this is just a three-phase motor. Here you go, here's the plate of it. It's a 1.5 kW wired in star, and the middle point of the star is connected to the chassis of this and to the neutral and ground conductor, so they're connected together basically. So this thing does have proper neutral and ground output. If in case there's a fault in a device, it's going to go back to the ground and neutral point and basically short out. Now I don't have any fuses or anything. Obviously that's not really ideal, so we're gonna do something about that later. But right now I don't have any fuse holders. I want to get a 3-pole breaker for this, but I don't think I'm going to have an actual 3-pole, but 3-position box is what I'm trying to say. Mount that where the outlet currently is, then we'll run a new piece of wire from that into the outlet, which I'm probably gonna move. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thing runs really nice and stable. It's a bit of a shame the engine doesn't have a governor, but it runs really well even without one. And nice and stable. I was going to adjust the carburetor, but it turns out it's pretty much right where it should be, so I don't really see any reason to adjust it, considering how well it runs. I might still have a play around with it, but I don't think it's necessary. Considering how beautifully the thing runs, it doesn't miss a single beat, you know. Yeah, and of course I'm going to encase all this in a box later, so this brace here won't be necessary. The box itself is going to hold this. I'm probably going to make a new piece of plywood for the control panel later, but this was just to get me, you know, into a runnable state. And yeah, it runs well, if I may say so. Let's see the oil now. You see all that smoke coming out? That's moisture. You see all this white crap here? Then this is brand new oil. There's nothing wrong with this oil in here. It's just a bunch of moisture inside the engine because it's been sitting for years and years in a damp environment. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that oil. All of that moisture is probably going to disappear, but it's going to take a few hours of running. I don't think I got the engine up to full operating temperature just running it for about 10 minutes. It probably needs to run longer than that. But it runs well. Very well. And yeah, I was cutting a piece of wood with the saw. Obviously, this is a jigsaw, so it doesn't consume that much power, but still, it works. And I got my breakout cord here to measure the voltage, of course. Very dangerous breakout cord, but you know what we should do is hook up that electric motor to it and see if it can run it. I think that's also a 1.5 kilowatt. So this thing should be able to run that without any problems. So I might hook that up and see what happens. Right, I got the belt tension pretty good. It's hard to show on camera. It really is. But yeah, this is pretty good. I can flex it about 3 centimeters. Let's see, can we see it here? It's pretty good belt tension right there. Any more than that, it is going to be very mean towards the bearings. The alignment is far from perfect, but it's pretty good. Checking belt tension because I know the shaft on this engine is bent. It feels pretty good. Yeah, the alignment isn't perfect, but it's okay. It's good enough for something like this. Yeah, here's her model. Type of the engine actually. I've been running it for a while. Now I'm just waiting for it to cool down a little bit. Gonna check the oil. Now it doesn't have as much moisture in it anymore. Still got a breakout cord here. I actually plugged my whole off-grid house into it. And yeah, it runs pretty good. And even with the lights on, that's a good 200 watts or so. The voltage and frequency really doesn't drop that much, despite it not having a governor, so yeah, I would say it's pretty good.